You hear it everywhere. Gaming is dying. Gaming hasn't felt the same. I miss the good old days. What went wrong? Everywhere you go nowadays, you hear people talking about this, and it's not true, and I'll tell you why in this video, so be sure to stick around because the most important part of the video is at the end. Are you one of those people who says this type of stuff all the time? Ask yourself this: why do you feel that way? Honestly, a lot of people talk about two main things. We're growing up, and gaming has become too competitive. And to the growing up part, yeah, it's true, but that's not exactly where your problem lies, at least in the most part. Actually, let's tackle this first. So many people believe that they don't enjoy gaming as much as they used to is because they're growing up. And that's a fair assumption, but again, you are wrong. There's been this thing going around society where that when you become an adult, you shouldn't be playing video games anymore. And it likely started with today's generation of women looking down upon it because it's something that children also do. But here's the thing, we are the first generation that are really growing up with video games. At what point exactly should you be putting these games down? Should it be right when you turn 18? 21? Is there a life goal like marriage where you should drop it all forever? It doesn't make any sense to me. It's become a mainstream hobby for people all around the world. Obviously, as we all grow up, there are other responsibilities that we need to put before hobbies like video games. And I don't want you to get the wrong idea here. I am absolutely on team shame them if they are doing absolutely nothing with their life and just playing video games all day and not amounting to anything. You know what I mean? If they have responsibilities and they're not doing it, I am so for, hey, loser, no, don't do that. However, as long as you have your life in order, depending on your age, you might have school, work, or literally anything else. If you have all of that done, what's wrong with sitting and playing some games? You might be asking yourself though, what's this have to do with the death of gaming? It all ties in together. Don't you see there's nothing wrong with you growing up? Society is forcing its warped views on you. In the back of your mind, you might be thinking that you shouldn't be doing this. And again, that feeling could be right depending on your situation. But for the vast majority of people, they feel this way because of outside pressure. Games aren't dying. They've never been better. You just need to understand that times are changing, and this is the first time a generation is growing old with video games. I'm actually quite surprised, like on a completely unrelated note here, I'm surprised that this is a little bit frowned upon as you grow up, because people binge shows, they watch Netflix, you know, like it's the behavior of like not doing too much is encouraged. Why is video games really the draw off? I kind of just stumped myself there. Maybe because it's new, maybe because we're not used to it. Anyways, like I was saying, this is the first time we are growing old with video games, and that could be the reason. It's because it's new. Some people think that video games are for children because that's all they've seen. Until recently, there hasn't been a generation of adults that play games. This is a new thing, and eventually society will realize that. We just need a little bit of time. So getting older has absolutely nothing to do with the death of gaming, but let's get into the next main point on the topic. Gaming has become too competitive. I touched on this in a recent video, so I won't dive too deep into it there. Has gaming become more competitive? Yes, absolutely, but not to the extent where it's unplayable. Actually, not even close to that extent. However, something else has changed along with the skill level of the players, and that is the attitude people bring into games. We've never had so much rage and disgust for players who have been good at video games before, and it's actually really hurting the community. All of the sudden, we've adapted this idea that anyone who is good at a game has no life, and every time we get beat, we must fill ourselves with rage and direct it at a TV screen. That's not okay. People are losing control, and you wonder why people are getting a different feeling about gaming. Yeah, it doesn't feel the same because kids practice all day. No, you just started making excuses for losing. Why can't you just have fun and try to win against that good player? Why can't you enjoy yourself more whether you win or lose? Because you probably just enjoyed yourself no matter what in the good old days that you're always longing for. If you think gaming isn't the same or it doesn't hit the same as a few years ago, give yourself an attitude check first and start from there. If your attitude is in check and you don't have the same maturity level as a child, I have another idea for you here. And that brings me to the main point that I wanted to get across in this video. Gaming doesn't feel the same because you play the same type of games. What's popular right now? Battle Royales. Everywhere you look, there's a brand new Battle Royale. Most of you probably only play Battle Royales and have for years at this point. If you're doing this and wondering why gaming doesn't feel the same, the answer is right in front of you. Play a different genre of games. And this is coming from somebody who absolutely loves Battle Royales. I think they're great, but I understand that they aren't for everybody. It can probably get really boring for a lot of people to jump onto an island, loot some guns, and try to be the last man standing no matter what the game. It's the same idea. There are so many games out there that you haven't experienced. Halo Infinite, for example, they went out of their way to not have a Battle Royale and focused on being what Halo is. And I love that, although I do think a Battle Royale would be great. That's just me though. The idea is cool. Try to play a fighting game, a story game, an open world game. There are so many games out there that will give you such a completely different feel that you aren't used to. And perhaps once you switch over, you'll miss your Battle Royales and return with a possibly better attitude. But honestly, guys, drop Fortnite and Warzone for a week and try something else. You will realize that there are so many fun and unique games out there with amazing communities behind them. Please trust me on this. Try out a couple games for a week or so. I suggest you try Breath of the Wild and Halo Infinite, two two completely different genres. One's a shooter you'll be familiar with, yet different enough to be unique, and the other one is one of the most beloved games in the entire history of the franchise. Give it a shot, and then you come tell me I'm wrong if you hated it. So we have 3 takeaways from this video today. What were they? Because you're gonna need to remember these if you want those good gaming feelings to come back. Rule number 1, don't let society look down on you for your hobby. Unless you have a hobby that's like murdering people or something. I'm talking about gaming here. Rule number 2, go into your games with a positive attitude and don't throw a fit when someone is better than you. You would not have done that in the good old days. And rule number 3, try different games. Don't play the same thing over and over again. And I just thought of this one now while I was talking, but one other possible thing is the communities in games. Join them, join the communities, participate, and make some online friends, possibly in some fills. It'll help a lot. Do we have the game plan? Are we ready to start having a great time gaming again? No, gaming is not dying, and it's never been better, and let's prove my point together. Ready, team? 1, 2, 3, and break. Go get 'em.